This is Update News on 96.7 The Eagle. Welcome to Sound Off on 96.7 The Eagle, LaPorte County's original social media. Sound Off is a public interest forum that encourages your voice to be heard on the topics and issues impacting our local communities. For the next 30 minutes, we invite you to be part of the conversation by calling 219-362-0522. And you can now text your questions to the Liquor Vault on-air line or by email to soundoff@967theeagle.com. This is a topic-based program, and we ask that you keep your comments brief, concise, and related to the topic being discussed. The views expressed on Sound Off are those of the hosts or callers and do not represent the opinion of 96.7 The Eagle, Spoon River Media LLC, or the sponsors. The Liquor Vault on-air line is now open for your calls or texts at 219-362-0522. This is Sound Off on 96.7 The Eagle.
Listening to Sound Off on 96.7 The Eagle. My name is Nate Laux, and it's an honor to be your host today. Now, you were given a gift last year, and perhaps you didn't even know it. It was a year where we didn't have any elections in Indiana. But as we turn the page to 2022, we also begin the Indiana primary season, where candidates kick off their efforts to win the hearts and minds of those affiliated with their own political parties. So I want to hear from you today. What issues are you most concerned about in this political cycle? It's an election that'll highlight many state, regional, and local races. So the topics you might be concerned most about are hyper-local. We'll have school board elections, township trustees, county council, a commissioner. We'll have state representatives, congressional members, and secretaries of state. And these people do impact your life in various ways. So what issues are you most concerned about in this political cycle in the 2022? I'd love to hear from you today. If you have an opinion on this, call or text the Liquor Vault on-air line at 219-362-0522 or email soundoff@967theeagle.com. And I'd love to hear from you. What issues, maybe it's for a specific race that you're looking at, or a specific for state representative or school board that you're looking at. And I'd love to talk with you today about that. Again, 219-362-0522. We'll wait for some calls to come. First, it's on this day in history. On January 3rd, 1990, Panama's General Manuel Antonio Noriega, after holding up for 10 days at the Vatican Embassy in Panama City, surrendered to U.S. military troops to face charges on drug trafficking. Noriega was extradited to Miami the following day, and crowds of citizens on the streets of Panama City rejoiced. The former dictator was eventually convicted of drug trafficking, money laundering, and racketeering, and sentenced to 40 years in prison. Noriega, for those of you that might be young listening, he was born in Panama in 1938. And he headed up the notorious G2 intelligence service, which harassed and terrorized people who criticized the Torrijos regime. Noriega also became a CIA operative while at the same time getting rich smuggling drugs. He became the country's de facto leader in 1981, the year I was born, fixing presidential elections to install his own puppet officials. Noriega's rule was marked by corruption and violence. He also became a double agent, selling American intelligence secrets to Cuba and Eastern European governments. Then in 1987, when Panamanians organized protests against Noriega and demanded his ouster, he declared a national emergency, shut down radio stations and newspapers, and forced his political enemies into exile. That year, the United States cut off aid to Panama and tried to get Noriega to resign. In 1988, the U.S. began considering the use of military action to put an end to his drug trafficking. Noriega voided the May 1989 presidential election just like that, which included a U.S.-backed candidate, and in December of that year, he declared the country to be in a state of war with the United States. Shortly afterward, an American Marine was killed by Panamanian soldiers. President George H.W. Bush authorized Operation Just Cause on December 20th, 1989, and 13,000 U.S. troops were sent to occupy Panama City, along with 12,000 already there. And they seized Noriega. 23 U.S. troops were killed in action during the invasion, and over 300 were wounded. Noriega died in Panama City, Panama on May 29th, 2017. And it's a reminder that oftentimes when dictators and people who want control of their country and the narrative, one of the first things they do is they try to control the airwaves. They try to control the radio stations, the TV stations, because this is where ideas happen and this is where conversations happen. And so we want to have another good year of conversations here on Sound Off, civil, obviously, but agree to disagree on some things. And as the scriptures say, iron and sharpening iron about different things. So that's on this day in history, and I want to hear from you today. What issues are you most concerned about in this political cycle? It's an election that will highlight many state, regional, and local races, so the topics you might be concerned about are hyper-local. We'll have school board elections, township trustees, and county council commissioner races. We'll have state representatives, congressional members, and secretaries of state. Now, there's not a new governor. There's not going to be a new president. But it's still some really important elections that are going on. These people will impact your life in various ways. So what issues are you most concerned about in this election cycle? Love to hear from you. Here's our phone line to call or text us, 219-362-0522, or email soundoff@967theeagle.com. All right, let's get to our callers. Hey, Happy New Year. Thanks for listening. What's your thoughts on this? What topics and issues are you kind of most concerned about in 2022 in some of these local and statewide elections?
Well, boy, I tell you what, there's an awful lot. The federal level, we should always be concerned, and a lot of people think I speak too much about it, but folks, open your eyes, pay attention to what's going on around you. We have control if we just exercise it. The local, more than anything, let's get some people in there with some honesty and some integrity and some moral values. This thing that's going on now with the snake in the package, if that had been an ordinary citizen, they'd be sitting in jail by now. Then we've got one commissioner and the auditor who are doing exactly what we elected them to do, to show you what the problems are. And if people would just open their eyes, pay attention to what the candidate says. Don't worry about the letter after their name. RDLI. It shouldn't matter to you. Listen to what they say. If you have a concern, question them. That was always the greatest part when I ran, is the people would come up and ask you a question, and you could explain to where your stance was. We may not agree. You can vote for whoever you want. But just remember, the people that you're putting in control and in leadership positions are in control of your money. And right now, this is very, very important because this lit tax coming up. Everybody in LaPorte County needs to be up there January 24th to speak out against this. Even if it takes till 4 o'clock the next morning, we need to voice our opinions about this. So stay engaged, people. Pay attention to what's said. Pay attention and ask questions from the candidate, not the letter after their name. The letter after their name should mean nothing, because the Democrats are not the John F. Kennedy Democrats, and the Republicans are not the Republicans from 50 years ago. They've all changed, and we need to pay attention to that. Same thing with libertarians and the independent candidates. Listen to what they have to say. Thank you.
Thanks so much for calling. Today we're talking about what issues you're concerned most about in 2022 as we start a new year and we begin a new election cycles. We've already had some candidates that are announcing their, re-election campaigns this week. Candidates can officially register to run in their own political primary. So if you're a Republican, you can register to run in your Republican primary. If you're a Democrat, same thing. I assume Libertarians, the same thing. And so obviously it's going to heat up very quickly. We were given a gift last year to not have any elections, but this year it's not going to be the same. And so we're talking about that. What issues are you concerned most about in 2022? Maybe it's a school board election. Maybe it's a state representative election. Maybe it's a state senator. Todd Young's running again. What is it that you're most concerned about? I'd love to hear from you today. The Liquorval on-air line is 219-362-0522. You're welcome to call that number or text it or email me at soundoff@967theeagle.com. All right. A couple texts that we received. What issues are you most concerned about? Vote all the county council who voted for the county employees getting the bonus the way they got it. So any of the county council that I assume this texter says any of the county council who voted for, to kind of give our listeners a little, the county council agreed to give bonuses, but to some of our employees, county employees, and instead of just giving a straight up bonus, what they decided to do and what they were debating on doing is, do you give a little bit in each check, or do you give it all at once, or do you give a little bit in 6-month increments? And it's been a topic that many of our county employees have been following, and some of them naturally upset that it seems like their wages are being messed with by those elected officials. And so this person seems to be a little bit more upset about those who voted the way that it is. Let's get to another caller. We've got a couple more. All right. Welcome to the show. Happy New Year. Glad to have you with us today. What's your thoughts on this? What issues are you most concerned about in 2022?
Freedom of speech.
All right.
I'm concerned about how the large sections of U.S. news media are leaning one particular direction, and how they're attacking just particular people. That's it. There's a restriction going on. That's all.
All right. Well, thanks so much for calling. Freedom of speech. This is a topic that some are concerned about. I see we recently got a text as well that says, our liberty, our freedom, our rights. All right, let's get to another text or another caller. Hey, thanks so much for calling today. Happy New Year. What's your thoughts on this? What topics or concerns do you have most for the 2022 elections? What are you going to be following and asking the candidates?
Hello, is that me?
Yeah, that's you. Welcome to the show.
Hello, good morning or afternoon. My main concerns, of course, would be, I know. I'll catch up with time change.
That's right.
When we jump forward again.
Yeah, that's right.
Mine would be, I do hope we can get the voting rights bill passed. I'd like to, I like the fact, and I've researched it on the openness of the elections, and then making things more accessible to people who cannot get out like we were used to be able to get out. Now, many of us can no longer do that. And I hope that gets done first. There's a lot of reasonable people in our country, and if we all get a chance to put our 2 cents in, then I think things will go the way they should. And I haven't noticed any freedom of speech problems going on. I think there's been a lot of people that are airing their own opinions, and it may not be the opinions that were popular a few years ago, but like you said, freedom of speech, everybody has their opinions, and I hope people can be very reasonable. We can get back to being the United States of America like we've always been in my lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you again for your question.
Yeah, thanks so much for calling, and happy afternoon, okay? All right, have a good day. All right, we're talking today about what issues are you most concerned about in this political cycle. Maybe it's, like I said, a hyper-local race. You're looking at school board races, or you're looking at township trustees. You're looking at a county councilor, commissioner race. And there's some things specifically in there that you want to know those candidates believe or support. Maybe it's the state representatives or state senate. We've got an Indiana State Senate race this year. Todd Young is up for re-election. I know he's running again, and there's some other candidates. I know he's getting... he'll be primaried. There is one at least that has announced they're going to be primarying him, and there's some other ones. I think he's going to have quite frankly, an easy re-election, but you never know. And so we're talking about what issues do you think, or what issues are on your mind for 2022? If you have an opinion on this, I'd love to hear from you. Shoot me a text, give me a call, 219-362-0522. Happy New Year. Keep listening to Sound Off. We'll be right back here after this break.
Ben Conowitz here, LaPorte Seamless Gutter, 219-362-9972. Fall is here, and that means leaves and debris for your gutter system. We've got 3 separate types of gutter guard for your home. Leaves and debris come in all shapes and sizes. We don't need a one-size-fits-all for your gutter. Give us a call today for a free estimate at 219-362-9972, or you can visit us on the web, www.lpseamless.com.
Did you know that if you go long enough without an oil change, it could cost you your car? O'Brien's Battery and Tire, your one-stop automotive center, is also the home of the Oil Change Club. And when you buy 4 oil changes, your 5th one's free. The oil changes start at just $33.33 and include oil, filter, topping off fluids, and checking over the entire vehicle. Getting your oil changed has never been easier. Call O'Brien's Battery and Tire today, 872-7878, or stop by 3782 North Wozniak Road.
When it comes to making plans, you are the best. What about those round trips that you plan in advance, which are perfect on your way there and perfect on your way back? Or those meetings with friends for which you make a group chat 3 months before so that nobody or anything is missing? Or your daughter's first birthday party. You planned it with such dedication that instead of the first, it felt like our quinces. The same way you plan each detail for those moments. Start planning to protect you and your loved ones from a natural disaster. Sign up for local weather and emergency alerts. Prepare an emergency kit and make a family communications plan. Protecting your family is the best plan you can make. Get started at ready.gov/plan.
Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
We're waiting to hear from you. Dial or text 362-0522 and let us know what you think. That's 362-0522. Back to Sound Off on 96.7 The Eagle.
Welcome back to Sound Off. My name is Nate Laux. I'm your host today, and we're entering into a new year with a election at the end of this year coming up. A lot of important races, and we're getting your opinion on this. What issues are you most concerned about in this political cycle? Be it a school board race issue, maybe it's a township trustee issue, maybe it's a county council or a state senate kind of issue. We'd love to hear from you today. The Liquor Vault on air line is 219-362-0522. You're welcome to call me or text me. We've got a couple texts here. There's a question here that I've asked our officials before, and I don't think there's going to be any movement on this. But you know, the best way to get movement on an issue that you're concerned about is to talk to your elected officials, as our first caller said. This person says, when will Indiana eliminate book rental? Been asking for years. I have as well. I don't think it's going to happen unless there's a significant group of voters that ask their state representatives and the state senators to sponsor a bill or to support that idea. As it stands right now, most state senators, most state representatives I talk to, locally anyway, are not in favor of eliminating book rentals. But again, the way to get that to change and the way to move an elected official is to issue your concerns, to talk with them, putting it on Facebook or commenting and things like this. Not that I'm not against Facebook or Twitter interactions. I think it's an important form of our democratic debate. But the best way to do it is through an email or a phone call, or go visit them, talk to them, set up a meeting, and talk to them about the issues you're concerned most about. All right, we're talking about what issues you have or what issues you're going to be following and tracking the most in 2022 with the elections coming up. We've got a primary right around the corner and then the general election at the end of this year. If you have an opinion on this, the Liquor Vault on air line is 219-362-0522. You're welcome to call me or text me. I'd love to hear from you today. Let's get to another caller. Hey, thanks so much for calling. Happy New Year. What's your thoughts on this?
Happy New Year. I'm concerned about all the issues. I'm going to follow Dennis Odell. I'm going to read the book of Revelation every month and the Bible. I'm going to sit back and relax and pray for everybody. God bless all you people.
All right. Thank you so much. Have a good day. We've got lots of different elections coming up that we're going to be tracking, and I'm already starting to, get as many interviews as we can, get as much access for you as we can for our elected officials, so that, again, the best way to hold people accountable is to ask the questions and to put them in front of their elected constituents for these elected officials. And so I'd love to hear from more of them, but we'll continue to try to track them on this show. If you've got an opinion on what you're most concerned about or what issues you're going to be tracking the most in 2022, I'd love to hear from you. The Liquor Vault on-air line is 219-362-0522. You can call me or text me. Let's get to some more callers. Hey, thanks so much for listening to the show. Glad to have you. Happy New Year. What's your thoughts on this? What issues are you following the most in 2022?
Hello, Nate.
Yeah, you're on.
Oh, okay. Just long void there. Okay. There again, this is my opinion and my take on it, and I think I'm
you're allowed to it.
Going to brag on myself and just say that I think I'm usually right because I watch the numbers. You know, you got to watch what's happening with the numbers. So my opinion is on our local level, things are pretty darn good, I would say, but always needs improvement. You can always find places for improvement, and there's a few childish things that went on that we could do away with. Back in the old days, that might not have been childish. It might have been just kind of humorous and comical. You know what I mean? You remember when President Bush was in, they had on him all the time on the television. They had this thing called Jib Jab.
Yep, I remember
where they
that.
put his head on a funny little body, and it made some fun. And it never really seemed to hurt anything.
Yeah.
But our federal government is run amok. Our president that we got now hasn't done anything that I can think of. All he does is undo things that were working, you know what I mean? Some examples are the pipeline and our construction people that are building a pipeline, and the numbers showed back then that we were self-sufficient in our oil supply and everything, and we were selling and keeping our prices down by selling refined fuel to the whole world. And that, am I correct? And we had a wall that was being built and working, and anytime I looked around the economy, working like crazy, you know. They're building on our local area over there, the corner 7-Eleven, the big building there in Newport Landing, the Don George. The economy was headed in the right direction, and partially still is. I think we're ignoring a lot of the high government things. So, and I run into friends, and if I keep my mouth shut, they're still friends. If I open it too much, but anyway, they admit that they didn't want Joe Biden for president, but they also admit the reason they voted for him because they hated Trump so bad. Now, that's the wrong direction to go. That's, to me, I call that negative voting. You should vote for somebody. Close your ears and eyes a little bit, and if they're doing good, go for them. You know what I mean?
Yep. It is interesting, though. I know a lot of elections, especially national, some people I know voted for Trump because they didn't like Hillary. Not that they like Trump, but they didn't like Hillary. And some people I know voted for Biden because they didn't like Trump. Not that they were huge supporters of Biden, but that's how it often goes. There were a lot of people that didn't like either of the people running for election in 2020, and they just kind of had to pull a name for something. You know, I'm a big advocate for, if you don't support someone, it's okay to not vote. In that particular, almost every election, there's going to be a blank thing for me, because if I don't know enough about the candidates, in my opinion, if I don't know enough about the candidates, I just don't vote for them. I don't, as our first caller said, I'm not a big, vote for the party kind of guy. I vote Republicans, Democrats, Libertarians. If I feel like you have the best the best character and the best vision for a community, and you care about your constituents, oftentimes I'll vote for you because character matters to me. But I would love to see Indiana get rid of pulling the trigger for a party instead of just voting for an election. But anyway, we're talking to you today about an early conversation about the upcoming 2022 election. It's an election year, and so we're going to start announcing primary candidates. I know on hometownnewsnow.com today, Pat Boy has announced she will be running for re-election. I'm sure more candidates are going to be doing that real soon here if they haven't already. It's an election year, and we're going to highlight many state, regional, and local races. And I want to know what topics you're most concerned about this year. If you've got an opinion on this, or there's something that you're kind of following right now, maybe it's in a school board race or a trustee or state representative or county council or commissioner. Maybe it's in the U.S. Senate race in Indiana that Todd Young will be running for re-election, and you're watching that. Maybe it's the Secretary of State in Indiana race. Many people probably can't even tell you who our Secretary of State is right now. But these, as we've seen in the various election recall races in different states, Secretary of State has a lot of power and a lot of authority and a significant role in a state government. And so, maybe you're following that. I'd love to hear from you today. The Liquor Vault on-air line is 219-362-0522. If you have an opinion on this, about what issues you're following most right now, I'd love to hear from you on the show. Again, you can call me or text me, 219-362-0522. We're going to take another quick break, our final break of the day, and get back to your calls and texts right after this. Can't wait to hear from you on 96.7theeagle.com.
Car problems often strike at the absolute worst times, but you can rest well knowing that Cannon's Automotive Service is here for you and dedicated to get you back on the road with prompt, efficient, same-day service. The same Cannon's commitment that LaPorte has trusted for over 50 years. Cannon's Automotive Service, now with 2 locations, 710 Tyler Street and 909 Boyd Boulevard.
With Cannon's Automotive, we fix everything.
Harmony Pools wants to help you create a beach party right in your own backyard. Whether you're looking for a new in-ground pool or in-ground hot tub, they are sure to help you make your backyard dreams come true. Need to schedule your pool closings? Need a liner replaced? Or maybe you're looking for weekly or bi-weekly cleaning contracts. Call for your quote today, and don't forget to ask about the many services they offer. 733-0552. Let Harmony Pools turn your backyard into your dream yard. That's 733-0552.
With Surf Fiber Internet's price lock guarantee, there's no hidden fees, no contracts, no data caps, and free installation. Plus, LaPorte residents that call today get Surf 1 gig fiber internet, including 1 Wi-Fi whole house router powered by Eero, all for one flat monthly price of $65 guaranteed. Call 855-528-SURF or go to iwantfiber.today. This is a limited time offer, subject to change. All speeds not available in some areas. Restrictions apply. Call for more details.
96.7 The Eagle. Hey, it's Dennis Siddell along with
Joe Happel.
Joe, Tuesday's show looks like what?
Well, at 6:30, we've got Tom Durrani in. We're going to play Stump the Mayor. Then our Facebook question of the day, what is something you can never find when you need it?
And also, we'll read those comments back at 6:30 tomorrow morning. Denny's Diner at 6:55. Stan Maddox with the news. Wayne Mahar has your forecast. It's all on the Morning Mayhem beginning at 6 a.m. right here on
96.7 The Eagle.
Michiana weather.
26 this afternoon, under sunny skies, southwest winds 8 to 15 miles per hour. 16 tonight, clear skies. About an inch of snow Wednesday through Wednesday night. From the Weather Center at hometownnewsnow.com. Right now, 18.
Your opinion matters. We invite you to share it by calling or texting the Liquor Vault on-air line at 362-0522. That's 362-0522. Now, back to Sound Off on 96.7 The Eagle.
Welcome back to Sound Off today for our final segment. We're talking about the 2022 election. What are your thoughts here on issues you're most concerned about? The phone lines are open. I'd love to hear from you, 219-362-0522. It's an election year, and we're going to highlight many state, regional, and local races here on Sound Off over the next couple months or a year. So the topics you might be concerned about most are hyper-local, right? They're topics that concern your schools or your community or your trustees. We'll have school board elections, township trustees, county council, commissioners. We'll have state representatives, congressional members, and secretaries of states and state auditors, these kind of elections this year. And these people impact your life in various ways. So what issues are you most concerned about in this political cycle? What are you following most closely? What do you want to know from your elected officials? You know, what would be the first question maybe you would ask them this election season? I'd love to hear from you. You can call or text the Liquor Vault on air line at 219-362-0522 or email soundoff@967theeagle.com. A couple texts let's get caught up on here. Time for a change in commission and council. This is from our Facebook comment. Yep, we'll get into who's running for that, and which not all races are up right now, but there are some. Here's a comment from our text line. Again, that number is 219-362-0522. My issue is the uncontrolled growth of non-public safety government jobs. We wouldn't need a lit tax. That's a local income tax that the city of LaPorte specifically is pushing for the county if they didn't hire so many people. So this person's opinion is there's too many people working for the county, not talking about public safety. So not EMT, not 911, not your sheriff's department, but these other positions. They believe there's too many. Here's one. Eliminate daylight savings time and have term limits. You know, it's so interesting, isn't it? Have you ever noticed this? Whenever anyone runs for election, and I'm not going to call out anybody, but I know there's a certain member of Congress that did this, and they said they believe in term limits, and they are supportive of it, and they believe it's one of the career politicians are one of the biggest problems in our political system. And then they get elected and that belief for term limits goes away, right? They run for their fifth or sixth different election, and now they've been there for 12 years and they themselves are career politicians. So it's interesting. A lot of people say they believe in term limits until they get elected, then they kind of like the job. Eliminate daylight savings time. I'm with you there. I would love that. Here's another one. We were just wondering if they're going to legalize marijuana in the state of Indiana this year for medicinal or recreational purposes. I would keep holding your breath on that one. I know locally we've asked State Representative Jim Prussell about this, and he is not in favor of that. And I don't believe, now there are some Republicans and Democrats that are in favor of it in the state of Indiana, state representatives. I don't think there's enough, though, to get a push. It's very interesting, though. And I would imagine in the next couple of years, they're really going to have to deal with this, as the state of Michigan now has recreational. I think Illinois has recreational. Ohio has medicinal. We're kind of being surrounded by it, right? We did a show here just a month or two ago, and 60% of the visitors in Michigan border counties or states, right, or Michigan border communities that have marijuana dispensaries, 60% of their customer base is coming from Indiana. So there's quite a bit of Hoosiers that are going to neighboring states to get their medicinal or recreational marijuana. Here's a comment. I just want the nonsense to end. I don't know. I assume that's about the political nonsense. If it's about Dennis Siddell, his nonsensory just keeps on going. So, I mean, there's no end to it. I've tried to get his nonsense to end, but it just doesn't. So we got a couple of minutes left, about 8 minutes left on the show. I'd love to hear from you. The Liquor Vault on air line is open, 219-362-0522. Call me, text me. I'd love to hear about what issues you're most concerned about, that you're going to be following closest in this election cycle. Maybe some of these issues I'll be able to ask then when we have people on the show, so that we can kind of hold them accountable and just get their opinion on it. In my opinion, I often vote for people that I don't agree with 100% because being a supporter of someone doesn't mean I have to agree with 100% of what they believe. All right, here it is. Make full-time elected, such as treasurer and assessor and others, show up every day, all day. The treasurer and assessor, I assume in the county, or I don't know, there's a state treasurer as well that has an election. I don't know how often they show up for work, but make full-time elected officials such as treasurer and assessor and others show up every day, all day. Isn't that the interesting thing about the political realities we have? When you get elected, your boss is your constituents, and so you don't really even have to show up for work if you don't want to, and you just have to, explain to your constituents in 4 years why you didn't, and so it's an interesting thing that there's not a lot of accountability after you get elected. Our accountability structures in our political system are elections, and they only happen every 4 years or so, 2 years if you're a state representative. And that's the reality. And so we've got a couple of minutes left on the show. I'd love to hear from you, 219-362-0522. Shoot me a text, give me a call. What's your opinion on the issues that are most kind of pressing for you? Let's go through a couple real quick races that we're going to be following here on Sound Off. United States Senate race, Todd Young is up for re-election. Danny Niederberger is primarying the United States Senate. I don't know why. He enjoys quite a bit of support, so I don't know why. There's a couple Democrats that are going to be challenging him, including the mayor of Hammond, Indiana, Thomas McDermott Jr. I think it's going to be a hard race for anybody to win outside of Todd Young. The Indiana Secretary of State, Holly Sullivan, was appointed by Holcomb in 2021. She's a former state rep. She'll be running for her first race, though she is currently the Secretary of State. There's 3 other Republicans running against her. Indiana Auditor Tara Klutz will be running. Indiana Treasurer Kelly Mitchell is term limited. So again, that's a race. We're going to have a new person serving there. And there's about 4 different Republicans running for that. None from up here that I can tell. Lana Kiesling is the Fort Wayne City Clerk. She's running. It's probably the closest to us. But also we've got U.S. Representative. Now, some of you, last in 2020, you voted for the Indiana or U.S. Representative in the District 2 race, the Jackie Walorski race. Some of you, including myself, are now in District 1. So we're going to be voting for whoever Frank Mervan is running against, and you get to pick a candidate in that race. Frank Mervan is running again in District 1. Jackie Walorski is running again in District 2, from what I understand. Indiana State Senate District 4 will have a new, or will again have another race. Indiana State Representative District 8, Ryan Dvorak. Indiana State Representative District 9, Pat Boy has announced she's running again. Indiana State Representative District 20, Jim Pressel, I assume is running again. He's not told me that, but I assume he is. Circuit Court Judge, I think Tom Alavisos is not running again. I think he might be term limited or something, but I don't think he's running again. Maybe he is, but we'll see. Prosecuting Attorney John Lake, who will be on the show again here, and I think on Friday, he will be running again. We'll have a new county sheriff in LaPorte. Boyd will not be. He's not running again. I think he's term limited. I think there's just 2 terms a sheriff can do. So John Boyd will not be running again. So we'll have a new sheriff, whoever that will be. We've got other candidates running, Republicans, Democrats. County assessor race, Mike Schultz will be running again. County commissioners in the 1st District, Sheila Matisse is running again. County Council District 1, Terry Gardner, I've heard is not running again. Terry, let me know if you are. Come on the show. Let's talk. If so, we'll have a new county councilor there. County Council District 2, Randy Novak will be running again. County Council District 3, Mark Yagelski is in there right now, the incumbent. And County Council District 4, which is the city of LaPorte, Mike Rosenbaum will be running again, I believe. And then Center Township Trustee Lisa Pierzakowski, who will be on the show again here pretty soon. LaPorte School Board races, there's 3 that are at large, Shannon Hannon, Sherry at large, Jan Riberty. So lots of different races. And maybe you're thinking about running. You should. I'd love to see you run. All right, let's get to another caller. Hey, thanks so much for waiting on the line. We're talking about the 2022 election and just things that people are concerned about and following most. What is it for you? What are you following most in the 2022 election?
Well, on a day like today, I like to talk about global warming.
Yeah.
The other thing is my fuel prices are up over 1/3 from a year ago due to Biden shutting down the Keystone Pipeline. I'm upset with some of the Republicans that can't cooperate, that got elected. I think Rich Muzinski needs to be replaced.
Yeah, he's not running again. Yep.
I know he's not running again, but he ran unopposed, and there's a reason why he ran unopposed last year.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is this local income tax. I will never be a resident of LaPorte County. It's terrible. You go back and do your homework back in 92 and 94, back to 88 when they passed the county adjusted gross income tax. They called it CAGIT. It's nothing but an expansion of government. And if government does things so well, how come the streets that get repaved pool up with water because they're not properly engineered for drainage? And Indiana passed a wetlands bill last year that repealed just about everything. We all need clean water, and that's the Republicans that did that. And I'm just tired of the expansion of government. The inflation our country's had, look at what food costs have done.
Yep.
The federal treasury's done that with zero interest rates. They're keeping the banks afloat. Things are so bad, and there's a reason why we have bankruptcy laws, and they should, and our federal Congress should have allowed that to happen in 2019 due to the COVID in 2020, and in 2008 when everybody was getting mortgages for houses they couldn't afford. They should have bankrupted them all instead of bailing out the banks. Here we are 14 years later, going on at 14 years, and nothing else is better. So have a great global warming year. I hope it gets better.
All right, take care. Thanks so much for calling. Yeah, I don't. I think the banks are doing fine this year. I think we're going to see. I know my investments are doing great. It's the biggest year my retirement has grown. But there is inflation, right? 4 to 5% inflation. Some gas prices have gone up and stuff like that. I'm fortunate to not have to drive too much. Everything I go to is within a half mile of each other. However, I know there are people that have to drive 20, 30 miles to get to work, and it is a big, significant cost to have that. And so it's an issue. But some of that is our federal government, and we don't have a lot of federal races. We've got a state Senate race, which I'm going to guess is going to continue to be Republican. And so as for the interest in Indiana, it's not really going to change. Todd Young's going to be Todd Young and probably continue on the path that he's been going. All right, here's another text we received. EMS pay, or from our Facebook comment, sorry. EMS pay and turnover needs addressed now, not later. We need a new administration and commissioners. All right, we only have one commissioner up for re-election. We do have new different counselors, and our commissioner is Sheila Matisse, but we have different counselors, including Mike Rosenbaum, Mark Yagelski. Terry Gardner's race there in the southern part of the county will be up again. And I don't know if Councilman Gardner's running again or not. I'd heard maybe he's not. We'll see. We'll be following that. And then Council President Novak will be running again. So we'll have all those on the show this year. Thanks so much for listening. We'll talk about this more this coming Friday. Prosecuting Attorney John Lake is there. I'd love to get your legal questions, talk about some of the things that are happening in our county based on crime, these kind of things, or different issues there. Hey, thanks so much for listening. Have a great year. Good new year. We love that we have so many listeners on this show. Be good to yourself. Be good to others. Keep listening to 96.7 The Eagle.
Thank you for joining us and voicing your opinion on this edition of Sound Off. The views on Sound Off are those of the host or callers and do not represent the opinion of 96.7 The Eagle, Spoon River Media, LLC, or the sponsors. Sound Off airs every Monday and Friday at 12